Today's video is sponsored by War Thunder. Music, the sky doesn't forgive mistakes, and in the age of fifth-generation fighters, even a few seconds can mean the difference between dominance and disappearance. The F-35 Lightning II was designed to make sure the United States and its allies never fall behind again, but this aircraft is more than just a fighter. It's a flying sensor network, a stealth data hub, and a global weapons platform that's rewriting what it means to control the skies. From the outside, it looks sleek and familiar, a single-engine stealth jet with sharp angles and a menacing stance. But under that skin lies one of the most complex machines ever built by humankind. Over 8 million lines of code control everything from the helmet that lets pilots see through the aircraft to the fusion engine that merges radar, infrared, and electronic data into one seamless picture of the battle space. But the Lightning story didn't begin in the clouds. It began in the chaos of the 1990s when the Pentagon needed a single jet that could replace nearly every fighter in service. The F-16, the A-10, AV-8B, and even the FA-18. One aircraft for the Air Force, Navy, and Marines. It sounded impossible, and for a time it nearly was. Billions of dollars over budget, years behind schedule. Headlines called it a disaster. Critics said it would never live up to the promise. Yet today, more than 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit 35s fly for over a dozen nations, from Britain to Japan, forming the backbone of NATO's air power and reshaping how modern air wars are fought. Still, the question remains, is the F-35 truly the future of aerial warfare, or just a bridge to what comes next? In this video, we'll uncover how the Lightning II became the most advanced and most controversial fighter ever built. We'll explore its stealth secrets, its game-changing helmet, its multinational origins, and the fierce debate over whether it can dominate the skies of tomorrow. Because the story of the F-35 isn't just about a jet. It's about the future of air power itself, the impossible dream. The 1990s were supposed to be the decade of peace. After all, the Cold War was over. The Soviet Union had collapsed and the world was talking about a peace dividend. But inside the Pentagon, reality hit hard. America's air fleets were aging fast. The F-15 seconds and F-16 seconds that once ruled the skies were showing their age even back then. And the Navy's carrier wings were flying aircraft designed before most of their pilots were even born. And at that time, budgets were shrinking, but missions weren't. Every branch wanted a new aircraft, but the money and priorities just weren't there. So the Department of Defense came up with an audacious idea. Instead of building 3 separate jets for the Air Force, Navy, and Marines, what if they built one and also made it available to allies? One aircraft that could take off from a carrier deck, hover like a Harrier, and dogfight at Mach speeds. This single jet design would replace the F-16, the A-10, the AV-8B, and even the FA-18. On paper, it was brilliant, but in practice, it sounded insane because each of these airplanes had proved themselves, especially in Desert Storm. What made things complicated is that each branch demanded something different. The Air Force wanted long range and agility. The Navy needed folding wings and a rugged landing gear for carrier ops. And the Marines, well, they wanted a jet that could take off from a 500-foot strip or a helicopter assault ship. Designers were told to make it all work and make it stealthy. That impossible wish list became the Joint Strike Fighter program, a competition that would pit aerospace giants against each other in one of the most ambitious projects in history. And it would drive aerospace spending for the next several decades. This really was a make-or-break moment in the industry. After all the proposals and design meetings, 2 prototypes would emerge, Boeing's X-32 and Lockheed Martin's X-35, and the challenges. To build the Joint Strike Fighter would prove just as fierce as the battles it would one day fight. But before we dive into the head-to-head competition between the X-32 and the X-35, let's talk about how you can experience the intense thrill of aerial combat without leaving your chair. This video is sponsored by War Thunder, the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made. Available now for free on PC, consoles, and even mobile. In War Thunder, you can command over 2,500 vehicles, tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships from 10 major nations. From the biplanes and armored cars of the 1920s to the cutting-edge fighter jets and main battle tanks of today, every machine is painstakingly modeled for authenticity. And this isn't a simple hit-point game. War Thunder features one of the most sophisticated vehicle damage models in gaming. Every vehicle is meticulously modeled down to its engines, fuel tanks, weapons, and crew, all of which can be damaged or destroyed by enemy fire. Different types of armor, shells, and missiles behave exactly like their real-world counterparts, making every shot count. And no matter your playstyle, War Thunder has a mode for you. Whether you want fast-paced, arcade, balanced, realistic, or full immersion simulator battles where skill and precision rule, War Thunder has it all. So play how you want. Use my links to download War Thunder for free and get a special bonus pack, 100,000 Silver Lions, premium vehicles, and 7 days of premium account access, and more to help you get started faster. So, if you love aviation history or just want to test your skills in the skies, jump into War Thunder and take command of the most powerful war machines ever built. And now back to the F-35. Now, speaking of dogfights, while you're pulling virtual Gs in War Thunder, back in the real world, the skies over Edwards Air Force Base were about to host one of the most important flyouts in aviation history. 2 prototypes, 1 contract, and the future of Western air power hanging in the balance. Origins of the Lightning. The year was 2000. At Edwards Air Force Base in California, 2 radically different visions of the future sat on the tarmac. One sleek and elegant, the other not so much. On one side was Boeing's X-32, nicknamed Monica by engineers for reasons that made its PR team cringe, and it looked unconventional. With a wide mouth intake, a bulbous body, and wings that seemed too small for its frame, Boeing believed simplicity would win. Fewer moving parts, cheaper to build, and rugged enough for all 3 services. On the other side was Lockheed Martin's X-35, leaner, sharper, and more conventional in appearance. But under its smooth lines lay something extraordinary, an innovative shaft-driven lift van that could literally change the rules of flight. Now, fortunately for everyone involved, the competition wasn't about beauty, it was about performance. Both jets had to prove they could take off, land, and fly like a modern fighter, but there was one challenge that would make or break the program: the Marines' demand for vertical flight. Boeing's X-32 used a direct lift system, a brute force method that redirected engine thrust downward. It worked, but barely. The design suffered from heat and balance issues. Meanwhile, Lockheed's engineers took a different path. Their system used a clutched shaft to drive a massive lift fan behind the cockpit, generating cool, stable vertical thrust while maintaining stealth to some extent. When the X-35B rose vertically, transitioned to forward flight, and then landed again without a hitch, the test pilots knew history had just shifted. It was the first aircraft ever to perform a short takeoff, supersonic dash, and vertical landing in a single flight. That moment basically sealed the deal. On October 26, 2001, the Pentagon announced that Lockheed Martin had won the Joint Strike Fighter contract, the largest military procurement in history. The X-35 would become the F-35 Lightning II, honoring the legacy of the legendary P-38 Lightning, which was also made by Lockheed. But while Lockheed had won the contract and the bag, the hardest part was only beginning. Because designing a prototype is one thing, building a stealth-worked multi-role fighter that satisfies 3 branches of the military and 12 allied nations, well, that's something else entirely. And as the program took off, so did the criticism. A program under fire. Victory, as it turned out, was the easy part. The moment Lockheed Martin secured the Joint Strike Fighter contract, the company inherited an engineering challenge unlike anything the aerospace world had ever seen. 3 variants, 1 airframe, total stealth, global logistics, and the most advanced software ever written for a fighter jet all at once. The concept was called concurrency. Build the jet while you test it, and test it while you build it. On paper, it would save time and money. In reality, well, it was chaos. Each variant, the F-35 for the Air Force, the F-35 Billions for the Marines, and the F-35C for the Navy, had unique demands. The A model needed internal guns and long range. The B model needed to hover. The C model needed larger wings and reinforced landing gear for carrier ops. Every change that was made to one variant would ripple through the others like shockwaves. And then came the software. Over 8 million lines of code. That's 4 times more than the F-22 Raptors, all controlling sensors, flight systems, weapons, and stealth management. Every bug meant delays. Every delay meant headlines. And every headline meant political fire. And make no mistake, something this ambitious had never been tried before. Remember, the F-35 wasn't a one-off X-plane. This thing had to be produced in the thousands. By the early 2010s, the F-35 had become a punching bag in Washington. Cost overruns climbed past $400 billion. Entire squadrons were grounded for maintenance issues. Test reports leaked to the press, calling it, quote, the fighter. That couldn't dogfight, end quote. Congress demanded answers, allies questioned their investment, and of course, late-night comedians mocked it. But behind the hangar doors, something very different was happening. Test pilots and engineers were burning through endless nights, fixing, tweaking, and refining. They knew that every hour of flight data pushed the jet closer to something truly revolutionary. And quietly, like a third-year quarterback, progress began to show. Software stabilized, reliability improved. The radar cross-section dropped to a value that was lower than any fighter in history. And when F-35 seconds finally started flying mock combat missions against fourth-generation jets, the results shocked even their own pilots. Meanwhile, the headlines were still calling it a failure. But deep inside the Nevada desert, at exercises like Red Flag, the F-35 was rewriting the rules of air combat. Because where critics saw a boondoggle, pilots saw the future, the tech revolution. For years, the world focused on the F-35's cost, but few understood what that money actually brought. Because beneath its composite skin, the Lightning wasn't just another fighter jet. It was a supercomputer that could fly supersonic. The magic begins with sensor fusion, a term that sounds simple but changed air combat forever. The F-35 carries an ESA radar, an electro-optical targeting system, 6 infrared cameras that see in every direction, and an electronic warfare suite that can sniff out enemy radars long before they lock on. In older aircraft, those feeds and manual switching between displays would overload the pilot. But in the F-35, all that data is merged into a single, seamless picture. It's like having the world's best radar operator, infrared analyst, and signal intelligence team whispering in your ear at once. And then there's the helmet, a $400,000 piece of science fiction brought to life. It doesn't just display information, it becomes the cockpit. Tiny cameras that are embedded across the jet feed real-time imagery to the pilot's visor, allowing them to look straight through the airframe and see the world outside in full night vision detail. Target designators appear wherever the pilot looks. Threats light up instantly. The jet reacts almost as fast as the pilot can think, and the helmet is so good that the Lightning doesn't even have a heads-up display or HUD. It simply just doesn't need one. But the F-35's true weapon isn't its missiles, it's connectivity. Every Lightning acts as a supernode in a vast network, sharing data with other F-35's ground stations, and even fourth-generation fighters flying nearby. A single jet can silently pass targeting information to an F-15 miles away, letting the older jet fire without ever turning on its radar. This is one of the reasons that we've seen the F-15X or Eagle II enter production. The F-35 is like the assist king or the quarterback, and the Eagle II is the finisher with its 24 air-to-air missiles. That's not just stealth, that's invisible teamwork. And it's this network power that has turned the F-35 into the backbone of NATO's air strategy. Wherever it flies, from Norway to Japan to Australia, it doesn't just defend airspace, it defines it. But even the smartest jet in the world means nothing if it can't survive the fight. And soon the F-35 would have to prove its worth, not in test ranges or simulations, but in real-world combat. Tested in battle. For years, the F-35 was tested in laboratories, simulators, and sterile hangars. But a fighter's worth isn't proven in spreadsheets, it's proven in the sky. That moment first came at Red Flag, the Air Force's ultimate trial by fire. Over the Nevada desert, the world's best pilots and most advanced aircraft face off in simulated war. It's where reputations are made and sometimes destroyed. So, how did the Lightning do? In its first full exercise, the F-35 stunned everyone. Flying alongside legacy jets like the F-15 and F-16, it didn't just survive, it dominated with kill ratios of 20-to. Aggressor pilots never even knew what hit them. By the time they realized the lightning was in the fight, it was already too late. Now, of course, stealth helped, but what really made the difference was information. F-35 pilots weren't fighting single battles. They were orchestrating the entire sky. Their sensors mapped out threats long before they were seen. Ground radars and surface-to-air missile sites that would have spelled doom for older jets became just more icons on a glowing digital map. And soon, the F-35 would face something far more real than red flag. In 2018, Israeli F-35Is, sea-named Adir or Mighty One, became the first in the world to see combat. They slipped into hostile airspace, struck their targets, and vanished without a trace. No radar warnings, no scrambling interceptors, just silence. And since then, the Lightning has flown deterrence patrols over Europe, intercepted Russian aircraft over the Arctic, and stood watch in the Pacific as China's Air Force expands. Each mission adding more data, refining tactics, and shaping the next generation of pilots. Still, the jet isn't flawless. Maintenance remains demanding. Range is limited by its single engine and size, and software updates, the lifeblood of the F-35, must keep pace with new threats. But with each upgrade, the fleet comes closer to its full potential. Today, the F-35 is really more than just a fighter. It's a force multiplier that links allies, feeds them data, and ensures that if one Lightning launches, an entire network fights with it. But as powerful as it's become, the skies are changing fast. New adversaries, new weapons, and new aircraft waiting in the wings. The future of air power, the F-35 may have begun as an experiment, but today it stands as the backbone of Western air power. More than 1,000 aircraft now fly with over a dozen nations, forming a global web of stealth sensors and shared data unlike anything in history. But the story isn't finished. In fact, it's only just beginning. Every Lightning is part of a living, evolving ecosystem upgraded continuously through software and hardware improvements. The next phase, called Block 4, is transforming the jet once again. New radar modes, expanded weapons bays, longer-range missiles, and smarter electronic warfare systems are all coming online. Inside the cockpit, a new Tech Refresh 3 computer core brings processing power once reserved for supercomputers. These are capable of running artificial intelligence routines that predict threats and recommend tactics before the pilot even reacts. This isn't just modernization, it's evolution at Mach speed. And yet, the F-35 isn't destined to stand alone. It's becoming the cornerstone of a sixth-generation ecosystem, pairing with unmanned loyal wingmen, satellite networks, and programs like the NGAD, also known as F-47 in the US and the GCAP in Europe and Japan. These systems will share data seamlessly across nations and services, blurring the line between one aircraft and an entire air force. In this new age, the pilot is no longer just a warrior, but the conductor of a symphony of machines. Still, the F-35's legacy won't be defined only by technology. It will be remembered for what it represented. The moment air power truly became digital, connected, and global. Because the Lightning didn't just change how we fight, it changed who gets to the fight together. From the Arctic to the Indo-Pacific, the sound of a simple jet taking off now means more than one nation standing guard. It means an alliance of eyes, minds, and wings, all linked through a single network in the sky. And as the next generation of fighters emerges, one thing is certain. When the first shot of the next great air war is fired, the F-35 will already know who pulled the trigger. Now, stick around for just a bit longer to see what's coming next on this channel. Thanks again to today's sponsor, War Thunder. Play War Thunder for free right now on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, or mobile by using my links in the pinned comment or video description. New and returning players on PC and consoles, if you haven't played in the last 6 months, you'll get a massive bonus pack across all platforms, including multiple premium vehicles, the exclusive Eagle of Valor Decorator, 100,000 Silver Lines, and 7 days of premium account access. It's available for a limited time only, so don't wait. Jump into War Thunder today and take command of the most powerful war machines ever built. The Apex Hunter. Remember that the sky doesn't forgive mistakes, and for nearly 3 decades, the F-35 Lightning has been proof that survival in the modern era isn't about brute force. It's about information, adaptation, and the invisible threads that connect an entire alliance. But before the Lightning ever took flight, another hunter was already stalking the upper atmosphere. One that was born in secrecy, designed to dominate before the enemy even knew it was there. It wasn't built to share data, it wasn't built to play nice, it was built to eliminate anything that flies. That aircraft was and is the F-22 Raptor, the first true fifth-generation fighter, a machine so far ahead of its time that even today, no adversary has matched it. If the F-35 is the network, then the Raptor is the apex hunter within it, a ghost that rules the sky by tooth and claw. In the next video on this channel, we'll dive deep into the story of how the F-22 became both a triumph and a tragedy, a fighter to advance for its own era, canceled before it could meet its full potential, and yet still untouchable 2 decades later. Because if the Lightning changed the way we fight, the Raptor defined why we fight to own the sky. So strap in. The next mission is about to begin. This is the story of the F-22 Raptor, the fighter that should have ruled the world. ApplausePilotPhotog.com